Time for session number 2 today of the 1K to 10K challenge. We're now at $1,220. Let's go see if we can run it up. Let's take a moment here to appreciate how my puppy chewed up my watch this morning. That's alright though, still my favorite watch, and he's still a good boy. Onto the hand now, we look down at ace-jack offsuit in the big blind. Over to us, only the cutoff limps in, and that's just not okay, so we raise it to $15. He quickly makes the call, and we're off to a flop, which comes a beautiful jack 5-3 2 hearts. I grab a slice of cheese and check to set a trap. I'm not Tom, and my opponent's not Jerry, so he falls for it and bets out $25. A few hands ago, I did check raise the same opponent as a bluff on a similar flop, so this time I'm going to be doing the same thing for value, so we bump it up to $60. He's sick of my shenanigans, so he says, "No! No!" and re-raises us to $125. The thought does creep in that maybe he flopped a set, but there's only 7 combos of those, and considering what we did to him earlier, he might just be trying to push us around. While we make our decision, the small blind is here with his nice little finger dance for the entertainment. He can move him like this, he can move him backwards, he can go a little bit faster. I give him a pat on the back and say, "Good job." Now back to the hand. So for $65 more, I end up making the call, but we're going to proceed cautiously. Turn is the deuce of clubs, giving us a bit more equity in the form of a gut shot straight draw. I check it over to the 4-better, who now shows a little bit of weakness by only betting $100. For this price, and having picked up a gut shot to go along with our top, I'm not going anywhere, so I make the call. Off to a river now, which is a brick. It's a 7 of clubs. I check it over one more time, and this time our opponent checks it back. Our opponent is nice enough to tell us he had king jack, so we got him out kicked and we take this one down. Next hand here, we look down at king 10 of clubs in the big blind. Really cool promotion at the Ace Casino here in Calgary. If you flop a royal flush, you get $10,000 cash. So we're definitely seeing a flop with this one. 2 limpers to the hijack, and he raises it up to $15. Cutoff calls, small blind calls, I call, and so do the other 2 limpers. We're going heads up times 3 to the flop, which comes a pretty hopeful 6 of spades, queen of clubs, and the 9 of clubs. Action checks all the way around. Off to a turn now, which is the 8 of hearts. Now giving us a double gut of the straight, we still have the second nut flush draw, and a gut shot to the super nut straight flush. Action checks around to the cutoff player now, who bets out $50. With so many outs to make a strong hand, we're not going anywhere, so I make the call. The pre-flop raiser thinks on it, but says it's a good price, so he gets in there as well. Off to the river 3 ways now, which is the 9 of diamonds, pairing the board. We break everything. Action checks to the cutoff again, who bets out $55, which is an odd sizing. I think about making a move here, but with one more player to act behind me, I think better of it and just let it go, which I'm glad we did because our opponent chose a jack 10 for the straight. Next up, we're in the small blind and look down at pocket 9s. There's 2 limpers over to the button, who raises it up to $15. From the small blind, we should almost always be playing a razor fold strategy, and pocket 9s is a pure 3-bet, so we raise it up to $55. The action does fold all the way around, so we take this one down with no resistance. We're under the gun and look down at jacking on. So I raise it up to $15. A crazy maniac player in the middle position makes the call. Low jack wants to get involved. Which price is in the hijack? Which price is in the button? Which price is in the big blind? So we go 6 ways to the flop, which comes a perfect king jack 4 2 hearts. Big blind checks it over to us, and I decide to bet 40% pot, so $50. The aforementioned maniac calls me a cheap dink and raises it up to $150. The action folds all the way back around to me. I debated slow playing here and just calling, but if our opponent's doing this with a draw like Queen 10 or 2 hearts, if I just called and then the turn comes a break, we would check and flow, the opponent could check it back and get to the river for a price that he chose. I don't like that idea, and our opponent only has about $250 behind and we cover, so I just go all in. And he beats me into the middle. All of a sudden, this now feels like a nightmare. I get on my knees and pop the question.
You got a set?
He pleads the 5th, and we're off to a run out. The turn comes a deuce of spades, and then the river's the ace of clubs. I show my flop 2 pair, and our opponent stares at his cards, and then frustratingly mucks them. He did let me know that he had the Robbie for a flopped lower 2 pair, but that's no good, and we scoop this pot our way. On the button now, and we look down on a hand that I was told is pretty good. There's a raise to $15, 1 caller, that's not enough, so we bump it up to $60, and everyone folds. So we end up getting this bluff through. Next up here, we look down at Ace King in the cutoff. There's a couple of limpers over to us, so we raise it up to $20. Small blind makes the call, and the initial limper makes the call as well. We're going 3 ways to the flop, which comes 6, 8, 9 rainbow. Action checks to us, and on this type of board, I decide to check this one back. The turn brings in another 6, and this time the small blind just open jams. Nothing we can do here except for letting our hand go. Nice hand to the opponent. We end up being card dead for about 27 years until we pick up the last interesting hand of the night, which is a beautiful 8-6 of clubs in the small blind. There's 5 limpers over to us, and if I'm going to play this hand, I'm not going to limp in. I'm going to take the betting lead here and raise it up to $25. This is an action table, so only 2 opponents fold, and we go 4 ways to the flop, which comes 3, 9, 5, 2 spades. We only have a gut shot, but something interesting happens here. While I'm taking notes for the last hand, the hijack player checks out a turn, and then everyone else checks behind, until the dealer points out where the action actually is. Knowing this extra bit of information, I decide to bet $60 here. Action folds around after that, and only the button player makes the call, so we go heads up to the turn. It's the queen of spades, it completes the flush, so I give up as I would have done on the flop, but then our opponent checks it back. Onto the river now, which is the bingo 7 of hearts, giving us a very disguised straight. Thinking about the opponent's line here, if she had a 9, I think she would have bet the flop herself. If she was on the spade draw, she wouldn't have checked back the turn. So she likely has complete air, or a hand like 4-6 that's river to straight. So I bet $125 here for value, and our opponent folds. We take this one down. I stick around for one more orbit after that, and then it's time to go home. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end. We were in for a total of $500 and we cashed out $1,125. So that's a profit of $625. So we are now this close to hitting our 1K profit mark. And as soon as we do, we're gonna be giving away this poker chip set to one of you guys. So click the follow button, subscribe on YouTube. Stay tuned for the next one where I'll be announcing how we're doing this giveaway. Thank you guys, peace.